Okay, let's take a quick peek at the weekly and the daily for SPX. So SPX has just been ripping. So beautiful, passed right outside our rising wedge that we talked about for months. So let's look at the overall bigger picture now and where we're at. So on the weekly chart, you can see we really pushed off nicely. It does look like we could potentially see some more upside if we repeat this, right? And then we pull back down and test that trend line again. So we've got 4 or 5 weeks where we have tested this trend line and tapped it. So I'm really curious to see if we get a pullback anytime soon. This coming week, this is the level that I will be keeping in mind should we pull back down towards that trend line. That's a significant drop. So just keep it in mind, should we pull back, this is a huge area and would be a huge bounce zone. And then if we flip over and we take a peek at the daily chart, I have a lot of trend lines here and I'll explain why. This was that rising wedge. We had this huge rising wedge, right? But we busted right through it. And so we are on top now and outside of the rising wedge. So now what I'm watching, this is still that October trend line down on the bottom that we've held forever. So that's the big area that to keep in mind. The next one up, this is a trend line that we've been holding since May, and we've just been on this nice slow push upwards, right? So if we get downside, this 55.38 area is where I'm going to be watching to see if we tap and then push on higher again. We've been holding this little trend line right through here. We tapped it 3 days in a row and just couldn't break above. So this 5663 is where we're going to be looking for Monday. If we get a push back above, we could see as high as 5663. If we cannot push and we get a rejection, then this is the area that I'm going to be keeping in mind for a potential bounce. If we break, then we're going to be looking at some more significant levels on down before we get to this right here. So just areas to be mindful of right now. These are the 2 areas I'm going to be watching moving into Monday, and I will add some more detail in our options tab where I'll add in the levels and all the charts and kind of walk you through some bigger levels to keep in mind. But this is a quick overview looking at the weekly and the daily for SPX with where we are at and levels to keep in mind.